This massive conditioning that we carry around with us is not something we're typically aware of, but if we get really still and practice being present for what arises, usually it's some kind of meditation. We're watching thoughts arise, feelings, sensations. As we get better at that, we become more still and more present, and we'll start to realize that there's this background density. It's more subtle. I've heard it described as crystallized ignorance. It's a solid of sorts. It's a mass of material. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. It's not necessarily painful. If it lashes out, then it usually has a nature of pain, anger, fear, frustration. It's not a pleasant sensation. It may feel good when we're caught up in anger. Like it feels empowering, and yet we usually regret it afterwards because it's conditioned and it leads us to do things that are destructive because they're not in accord with the way things are. The nature of a conditioned pattern is that it doesn't capture or describe reality, and it's always in conflict with it. Always. It's not harmonious. And especially when we're deeply attached to it. It has our name on it, it has our past history, family history. It can become violent. And that's why countries go to war, because there is this crystallized notion of self that a nation has that has to do with one's fathers and their fathers, because they're the ones that fought the wars. Usually the mothers stay behind and take care of the kids, or bake apple pies or something while everyone's killing each other in some foreign country. It's ridiculous. And it's ignorant. It can be kind of hard to hear that. Like, I'm not ignorant. I'm not saying that anyone's ignorant. That the mass of mind material itself is ignorance in a similar way that a dark cloud will block one's view of the sun. Just hang out in Seattle in the winter for a while. You know what I'm talking about. It's just kind of dark and cloudy and wet and rainy, and it creates a depressive kind of atmosphere. When the sun comes out, it was always there. And it's brilliant, and we just naturally feel happy and go outside and have fun and recreate and so on. This massive mind material, it's like a storehouse of genetic memory, of racial memory, of any kind of aspect of biology that we may identify with, such as gender. That kind of thing is, in a sense, solidified. It's not a physical solid. It's an accumulation of mental tendencies that's based on experiences from the past. And it's part of the ego. So ego is the habitual tendency of the mind to identify with content of the mind. So a thought will go by and we'll think, oh, that's me. We're not really aware of it, but it labels it. It's like it sticks the letter I on it, like, oh, I. Like, I'm no good, or I'm fantastic, or, I something. And because it's false, it leads us to behave in ways that are not very skillful. And this accumulation of past conditioning can be very thick and very heavy, or it may be less thick and less heavy. It might not have quite that density. And when you meet people, sometimes people have a very dark or heavy energy, and that's what that is. Again, Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. I was reading an ancient text of Advaita Vedanta the other day, and it was written 700 years ago. And they're talking about it in this book, and it refers to it as crystallized ignorance. I love that. I can't help it. It's thick, it's dense, it's unpleasant. And even hearing about this, we may find ourselves wanting to change the channel. Like, yeah, I'm going to look at another video. This is kind of heavy. I don't know about this. That means it's right there where we need to be. And the light of our own awareness burns through that just like the sun burns through clouds. The Sanskrit word, it's a compound of jnana, which means knowledge, like capital K knowledge, knowledge through identity, knowledge of the divine, knowledge of our true nature, pure awareness that we are. We awaken to that, and that's called jnana. And then the word Agni means fire. So Jnana Agni means the fire of knowledge. It means the fire of our presence, the heat, the light, the energy, the brightness that we are, just like the sun burns through those layers of ignorance. And that's the cure. The cure for ignorance is knowledge. It's just not mental knowledge. We think that mental knowledge is knowledge. It's not. It's at best information that we might be able to use. I've mentioned this before. It's like knowing that there are 12 inches in a foot and you want to measure the square footage in a room so you can put furniture in it. That's useful, but there's no such thing as 12 inches because it's a concept. And it's not absolute because it's always going to be slightly longer or shorter than 12 inches. There's no end to it. There's no exact amount. Everything in life is like that. There's no such thing as a perfect circle. It's purely conceptual. And we try to live in the concept, and it disagrees with the reality of life. And we behave in ways that are ridden with conflict because we're living in our mind. It is like a map. We may have a map of the city we live in, but it's not the same thing as the city itself. And the map is always slightly off. It's not exact. And chances are we're going to bump into stuff and hurt ourselves and have arguments over it because we all have slightly different maps. Like my map is better than your map, and we go to war over it and kill each other. It's ridiculous. This fire of knowledge burns through ignorance. So our job is really just to be present, and this unconscious material has a kind of identity to it. We've imbued it with this energy of self. So in a way, each layer of it can be like a coiled spring. Traditionally, it's been likened to a seed that sprouts. So it's dormant energy, and sometimes it will, in a sense, sprout or move and move us to do things that are not in our best interests, like a desire for certain intoxicants or certain vices that get us into a situation where we're really suffering, or habits of certain patterns like dishonesty, where we lie to people, we hide things, we are deceitful, or we misrepresent. It has a certain energy that will capture our mind, and because we're identified with the mind, it moves us to act in ways that lead to suffering. It leads to outcomes that cause suffering and make us unhappy. That fire of knowledge, that awareness that I am awareness. I'm not the object. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the emotions. I am the awareness of those things. I have a body. I have a mind. I have emotions. But they are not me, and I am not them. They arise within me. I am the awareness, the unconditional presence in which all of this is arising. And when I, in a sense, focus on that, when that's real to me, when I meditate on it, reflect on it, and in some sense know the truth of it, not as a thought, but as pure awareness, we start to wake up to it. That burns through that ignorance. And at some point it burns all the way through it and we're free. So I recommend that we practice that. If you try to sift through that material, you'll get caught up in it. I've talked about it being like a hoarded house. The body is kind of like a house that we live in, and it's full of useless crap. A hoarded house, that's what it is. Stacks and layers of this stuff. Garbage, really, most of it. Some of it may be useful, but we don't know because it's so thick and dark, and all we can see is the most superficial layer, and we can see how big it is, kind of get that sense of it, but there's stuff buried under there, and we don't know what it is, so we have to start removing those layers and just keep working at it, just patiently. And we may be surprised by what we find under there, maybe a little bit shocking, but we stay present or it'll throw us off. We get caught up in the material itself, like we find an old, I don't know, love letter or something, and we sit down and we start reading it, and then we get caught up in the past of that, and we're not doing our work. So if you start rummaging through it, chances are you're going to get caught up in those forms, because the mind wants to kind of chew over things, ruminate, like a cow chewing its cud, just chews on stuff. And time goes by, and we realize we didn't really do anything. We didn't do any unhoarding or organizing, as it were. So it'll feel like a density, or it'll have a certain kind of mass to it. And when you get really quiet and feel into the space of your body, you may feel that. It really kind of feels like a sensation. Our job is to bring unconditional presence to it. And in a sense, it doesn't like it. It doesn't have its own power. It's just that its nature is to resist dissolution. So basically what we're doing is we're dissolving the mind. It's just that the mind has many layers to it from the past. We don't know how many, because some of us have more than others. It doesn't really matter. It's just we start at the top and work our way down. And it's very pleasant to do. It's just that it'll resist it. And it's typical for family members to resist that. They don't want you to do it. Everyone wants you to stay the same and be conditioned and asleep because it makes them more comfortable. As they say, misery loves company. You have to break that hypnotic spell. Break it. It's like in sci-fi movies, like the movie Alien. It's just creepy, dark. It has a shiny exoskeleton, and it's dark, and it has fangs, and it's scary, and it kind of slithers around and tries to get us. We have to, in a sense, catch it and break its spine. That sounds a bit harsh, perhaps, but the hypnotic state has its own momentum and its own identity that we've given to it. See, our identity is formless, and we confuse the material of the mind with who we are, and we attribute identity to these objects, these mental objects, and they get stored that way. They're unpleasant, and we tend to accumulate them. Reactions, tendencies, psychological patterns that try to tell us who we are. So they'll tend to resist that unconditional awareness, that presence. And if we stay with it, see, if our practice is strong, you're not rummaging through it or wrestling with it. You're just seeing it. It almost feels like nothing's happening, but if you really practice it, you'll notice that it dissolves that stuff. It burns through it. We're weighed down with the past. If we're not sure about this, if someone's watching this video and not sure about what I'm talking about, part of how you'll notice it is how you'll react unconsciously. Something will come over you. That's what people say. Something came over me. I don't know. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde takes you over. And it is similar to the way an alcoholic, if you've ever known someone who has had problems with addiction or alcoholism, they're usually really nice people. They're just good people. And then sometimes there's like, who is this person? I don't even know. Something dark takes them over. They may even look different. Their face may contort and look like it's in a shadow. It's that unconscious material that's taking over and controlling that person's nervous system. And in that moment, they're identified with it. And that's why Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body, because it's unpleasant. And it's in pain. In a sense, it is pain, and it wants to inflict pain. That's all it knows. Some form of pain. It doesn't have to be acute physical pain. It could be just psychological pain, like unpleasantness, or when someone utters some kind of put down, tries to take you down a notch, like an offhand verbal comment. That's what that is. It's unconscious, it's conditioned, and it's based on comparison. People want to bring you down a notch so they feel better about themselves. It's just ego. The reason I'm talking about it this way is I've talked about ego as this reification tendency. We tend to unconsciously reify thoughts as if that's who we were. We don't just have the thought, we think the thought is true. And because our essential nature is truth, we are basically giving it our identity. We're saying, that's me. That's true, that's me, that's it. This story, this crystallized piece of garbage, really. Any thought that goes by may have a certain usefulness, but it dissolves. When we cling to it, reify it, solidify it, it makes it dead. There's no life in it. And when we're children, we develop an ego. That's part of what happens. This work that I'm talking about is for adults. Children have to develop an ego, a sense of self, and all this conditioning, all the pain and insults and negativity and things that happen to people, good and bad things. It's just the bad things. When I say bad, I mean unpleasant. Just that feeling of not okay. I don't mean bad like morally bad. It could be. Someone might be abusing us, and we could say that's bad behavior. But in a sense, it's just suffering. It's unpleasantness. It's this limited and kind of dark sense of personhood. And children don't really have that because they haven't really been conditioned yet, most of them. As we get older, we become teenagers and then young adults. By the time we get to the age of 18 or around there, the ego is pretty much in place. And then we become young adults and we wonder why we're not happy and what's wrong with this, what's wrong with me. We try to go along to get along and pretend we have to go out and get a job or do whatever, and people are kind of uncaring and unpleasant. We may have friends. Obviously, we can have positive relationships, but there's this layer of subterfuge and dishonesty that's really common. Like, people won't tell us what they're really thinking or feeling because they're hiding, because they're insecure. And then we learn to do that and act that way and compare, and who has more money or who has a better car or whatever, just all of that stuff. Who's in the right political party or who has the most Instagram followers, or I don't know, just that kind of crap. And it's miserable. It's limited. It's like a cage or a box or a prison or something that hems us in. And it's a mental habit. Sometimes I like to say that it's like we have this evil DJ that's laying down vinyl tracks, like a stack of records. And there are grooves in the record, and it plays this old familiar tune, and it's stacked. And it's a form of ignorance because it's mental conditioning that doesn't describe reality. It can't. See, reality is our true nature, and it's just very naturally happy and free if we can but realize it and become free of all this conditioning that I'm talking about. Typically, when we become aware of ego, we're becoming aware of that part that I'm calling the evil DJ that lays down the tracks. It's like forming grooves in the record, a new vinyl. Like maybe he has one of those machines that cuts new recordings and then puts it on the top of the stack. By the time we get to be 18, we have a whole stack of those. And they determine, in some sense, in a relative sense, who we are as a person. And some of those tracks may be virtuous, you might say. We got conditioned maybe to treat people nicely or decently. They're approximations. They're occasionally useful, but even those have to go eventually. As I mentioned in a previous video, it's this program, I should be nice, that often gets us in trouble because someone else with the recording that says, Daddy taught me to take advantage of people who have this particular program of I should be nice, like they're naive. I'm going to take them. I'm going to exploit that. That form of ignorance, that not knowing, that lack of awareness, we're trapped in this recording. And these things keep happening over and over again. When we become aware of the activity of this reification, this DJ that's doing this, like he gets furloughed. We say, you know what, we don't need you anymore. We suspend the activity, so we stop laying down new tracks. And all that is becoming aware of what the mind is doing. So we learn to meditate, we learn to know the truth, we learn to pray, we We learn to practice in some way, some kind of awareness of our true nature. And that awareness is, again, this fire of knowledge of who we are. And it isn't a thought, this, what I'm calling knowledge. It's a problematic word because usually we associate knowledge with thinking. There's no knowledge in thinking. I've mentioned this before, but Nobel laureate scientists, like physicists, the smartest people, Einstein level genius, they really don't know what anything is. They may have discovered certain relationships of atoms or molecules or objects, just how things tend to work. The universe is so mysterious and vast, and it's all like a hall of mirrors. That's like a dream that has this infinite regress, and we don't know where it ends. We don't know where's the end of the visible universe and what's beyond that. It doesn't even make any sense. We can't capture it. And it can be terrifying if you just reflect on that until you realize that it's all being generated by the mind. All the objects that I experience are mental forms that appear to be separate from me when they're just appearances within awareness. I am the awareness. I am already free. That which is, that consciousness, it's universal. So I'm not saying that I'm this person who has a particular something. We awaken to the awareness that we are, and it's everyone and everything. And that's what is the basis of the appearance of the world, and it ceases to have this sense of independent power that ego gives it. Witnessing thoughts go by, and ego wants to say, I'm that. Whatever the thought is, it wants to identify with it. Identification is saying, I'm that. And it's like it becomes this thing that we then store in that storehouse of the mind, and it gets hoarded over time. At some point, we get tired of it, and we hear a teaching like this, and we learn how to wake up to our true nature and practice that and unhoard our mind, or if it's a stack of records, it dissolves that, it burns through each layer, and it doesn't add new layers to it. We suspend the ego, and the ego is the one that lays down the new tracks, so we suspend that, and it dissolves the old ones, and it doesn't lay down any new ones. And we start to feel lighter and happier and more free. There's no reason that we would feel that way except it's just natural. There's no thought in it. There's no causality in the sense of this one thing that causes something else. Like I was born from this lineage of people in history, and that I have to obey the stream of history and keep my head down and live this heavily conditioned kind of existence that's mechanistic and predictable and a bit blinded and unhappy. And we don't know why, and all we can do is blame other people maybe that we feel are exploiting our ignorance or lack of awareness of how things work. I'm just saying we can break that, we can be free of it. Falling into one of those grooves of conditioning is a kind of blindness, and it has an energy in it, and it impels us to act. In Sanskrit, the word is vasana. Usually it's translated as latent impressions or mental tendencies. It could be that. Really, it's psychological patterns. That's what we might call it in modern language. There's energy in it. We identify with it, and our identification is misplaced. And we think that these things have power, and it's that thinking that they have power that makes them seem as if they do. That's a liberating insight. That nothing in this world, nothing that you can think, feel, or experience has power over you. Now, someone may, in a sense, have power over your body. They could shackle you or imprison you or do other unpleasant things. That's not you. That's the body. They could torment you in some way, trying to cause you a mental disturbance. You're not the mind. They may try to put you down and make you feel a certain way. You're not your emotions. When you disidentify from those things, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my emotions. I'm the awareness of those. I have a body, I have a mind, I have emotions. They're, in a sense, arising in each moment. There's an intelligence that comes with that. It's not based on conditioning. It's pure awareness. It's just a light that shows us what to do. And no one can imprison that. It's prior to time and space and causality. The saying in the Bible, before Abraham was, I am, not before Abraham was, I was, like it was in the past. Before Abraham was, I am. That's a profound statement of the radical, transcendent nature of truth itself, the truth that we are, the reality that we are. We wake up to that, and nothing can touch us. But it's not because we're excluding anything. I mentioned the creature from the Alien movies. I think it's called a xenomorph. It's shiny and smooth and has teeth and things would just roll off of it. And it has an armor to it. Ego has a certain characteristic like that. In this hoarded mental material of self, it can materialize or appear as an entity. I heard Eckhart Tolle recently in a video where he said it can be like a gremlin. I'd said that. I think it's cute because the movie Gremlins, the Mogwai, these cute little fuzzy creatures, and then what you feed them after midnight or get them wet, they turn into gremlins, these little monsters, and they go crazy and they terrorize everything. And they're the embodiment of vice. They drink, they smoke, they gamble, they're violent, they're surly, they smash everything, they think it's hilarious, they just destroy everything. It's like that. It's the unobserved mind. But I wanted to emphasize this storehouse of the mind, this sense of conditioning that's built up in layers over time. When we practice it, we thin those layers. They become thinner, they become lighter, little by little. There may be some particular parts of it that are challenging, that are parts of the ego that may have a pretty heavy identification. And when those come up, those challenge us. They'll try to keep us from being free. And again, our job is just to witness those, just to be present for them. And if they make you do something, they impel you to act, like an addiction. It causes this desire, like you're trying not to drink, you're abstaining from alcohol, just for example. It's pretty typical. And the next thing you know, you're in the bar drinking and wondering, oh, why did I do that? That's what that is. It's an unconscious impulse, a blind impulse. So in the ancient texts, they're called Vasanas in Sanskrit, and they're usually described as seeds that are dormant until they sprout, and then they cause all these behaviors. And the fire of knowledge, so that awareness that we are, it bakes these seeds. It bakes them, it fries them, broils them, it heats them, it renders them inactive and, in a sense, destroys them. It dissolves them. So we dissolve these layers, and I can almost feel the world pushing back on it when I'm saying this. What we call the world is a hypnotic delusion that's collective. Everyone believes it generally, so it seems real, and it really isn't, at least not on the terms that are popularly understood or assumed to be the case. And it's dreamlike, it's hypnotic, it's nebulous, and it's really interesting when we become conscious and notice it and realize it doesn't have any substance. It doesn't have any independent power or substance or value. At its most basic level, it's just thoughts. It's just thinking. So when we notice our thoughts without judgment, they dissolve and let go. And we're not adding to it. Other people may be adding to it, and they should. If they are doing it, we tend to judge people for doing things that we ourselves are doing. That's what a judgment is. Like, they shouldn't be doing that. They're bad. They're wrong. Oh, those people are terrible. That's a judgment. So we're judging people for judging or behaving in judgmental ways, and it imprisons us I'm only saying this because you may hear it and a light comes on and you're like, I don't have to judge. That's liberating. So we witness our thinking and we notice when we judge, this is good, this is bad. I want this, I don't want that. Oh, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. Those are just thoughts coming up. And the pronoun I should do this or I shouldn't do that. That, it's a concept. So it's like we take some of our precious identity and affix it to something that's basically dead, like a skeleton. We give it life. We give it substance. We give it this apparent substance it wouldn't otherwise have. And it gives it a certain potential energy that we're not sure what to do with, so we just end up hoarding it. Thoughts, if they're observed consciously, they dissolve and pass, and there's this open sky of awareness that's just very happy. When we reify these thoughts, they get crystallized and they get stored. And those stored entities, because they get bundled together, and they have a certain potential energy and they rule us. They make us act in ways that are blind and in a sense ignorant. And we wonder, why the hell are we doing that? Why do I behave in this way? Why do I act in these conditioned ways that are unhappy? Or it'll just make us feel bad, depressed, anxious, confused, lost, lonely, separate, defensive, or maybe proud or arrogant. We try to build something out of that material, build some kind of self. The best we can do is build some kind of self that we then compare to other selves. And it's really miserable. The texts that describe these things have been around for thousands of years. This is nothing new. Buddhism, Vedanta, mystical Christianity, Taoism, these things have been around for thousands of years. This I am that I am, that which is, we wake up to reality and the clouds are dispelled and the sun comes out. What keeps it going is identification with it. I am this, I am that. Oh, why am I like that? And it's just this mass of material. It's like a garage is hoarded. Oh, why? Why me? I, me, mine. It's a reifying tendency. It's tense, it's heavy, it's dark. We can be free of it. Sometimes I think people learn how to meditate, they learn how to suspend judgment and be unconditionally present for the content of their mind, and then start to see some of this stuff come up. And the tempting thought is, oh, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening? Like the thought comes up, these vasanas, these tendencies, mental patterns will emerge and have a quality of some kind of self that's not okay. That's suffering, basically. That's dukkha. That's, I'm not enough. This isn't enough. I'm not okay. This isn't okay. Life is unfair. Woe is me. And it'll try to get us to identify with it again and keep it going. Just notice it. Remember, I'm not my mind. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not the body. I'm not the emotions. I'm the awareness. The awareness is untouched by those things. Because we've given these mental entities some kind of identity, when we witness them, it's as if they die. It'd be like, I'm making this gesture, but it could be like almost like a spider, like some mechanical spider from a sci-fi movie. The identification makes it seem like it has independent power and it'll struggle a little bit, and our awareness just dissolves it, and then it breaks, it dies, it dissolves. It'll feel like it has its own power, own energy, its own life almost. And I've talked about how sometimes these things have been portrayed in popular literature as gremlins or demons or other kinds of entities that plague us. They're just forms of the mind. It's like there's this storehouse of the mind that's unconscious, and it's all in there. And It helps if we can just notice it and be aware of it and realize that's just how it is. And then if we don't judge it, it dissolves. Like the Wicked Witch of the West, Dorothy throws water on her and
I'm melting.
she dissolves and goes away, and everybody's happy because it's not real. We're not hurting anyone. Our parents will want us to stay the way we are. I mentioned parents earlier. I'm talking about psychological conditioning and how it can be layers deep and how it may seem like we're not making progress. We are. We're going deeper. Some of the deeper layers of it may be more potent, and we think something's wrong with us because it's getting harder, not easier. Well, we're getting stronger. It's like a video game where you go to the next level, you unlock some level, and all of a sudden it's harder. That's just kind of how it is, but that's because we have more power. So we get more power and we can defeat those enemies and achieve the aim of it, which in this spiritual process is to wake up. That final boss fight is with ourselves, with who we assume ourselves to be. Our parents, they're going to resist it, so you might as well expect that. It's typical. If they don't, then great. Just don't be surprised if they do. And don't let that dissuade you. It doesn't mean you're being a bad person or you're not, quote unquote, honoring your father and mother as from the Old Testament. Jesus was clear about it. Like, wake up. He who loves father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. They may join you in it when they see your light. You can't make that happen. You have to do it for yourself. And then those who can appreciate that will join you in that, and they'll benefit from it.